Oily Goldmit there from the Israeli embassy in London. Let's just take a look at some of the damage caused by this Iranian strike on Israel. Israel says, Iran fired almost 200 missiles into its territory. Footage shows missiles flying over Tel Aviv, over Jerusalem, also over the Israel-Lebanon border. Our data and forensics team has identified and geolocated footage from around the country, including this, which shows missiles landing near the Ion Mall in Tel Aviv. Footage also shows missiles landing at or near the Nedim base, south of the West Bank, as well as the Shalav Chabad Gator School and Harila on the northern outskirts of Tel Aviv. Let's bring in our defense and security analyst Michael Clark. Good morning, Michael. Just tell us how dangerous a moment you think this is.
Yes, undoubtedly, Mark. I mean, this is a dangerous moment because we are on the brink of a much broader war. I mean, since the 7th of October last year, which is just exactly a year ago now, since the attack. We've all hoped that this would be contained, and the Western world has worked very hard to keep this whole conflict contained to the Gaza problem, but it now looks as if it is going to become wider. We don't know how much more serious that will be, but undoubtedly in the last 2 or 3 weeks, Israel has decided to take on all of its enemies. This axis of resistance, as Iran calls it, the Ring of Fire as Israel calls it, and we don't really know what the Iranian response can be to that or will be to that. So undoubtedly this is a dangerous moment, and the attacks last night, and you're just pointing out there that the Sky forensics team has located, as we said last night. No, in the light of day we'll be able to see what damage has been done where these missiles landed. Undoubtedly some of them did land, and that itself will provoke an Israeli response, and Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has been very clear about that. He said there will be a response, it will be strong. We'll see how strong it is, and that risks another round of retaliatory action from Iran.
Right, and I guess what happens going forward will depend on what Iran does in response to the Israelis.
Yes, and I think the Western world, United States in particular, but also European countries, will be trying to say both to the Israelis and the Iranians, just think about this. I mean, if you're going to respond in a choreographed way, as you did in the April 13th attacks, the last round of this 350-odd missile attacks against Israel, do it in a choreographed way, so that gives us some bow room, some diplomatic room for maneuver to draw a line under this and try and dial down the danger that this will break out into a more generalized Middle Eastern conflict. See how that goes.
Yeah, and just a few moments ago we were just showing a picture of an explosion in the last few minutes in this city from where we are broadcasting this morning, Beirut. So it's clear that Israeli attacks are continuing on this city, and further south in southern Lebanon. Michael, more Israeli troops coming across, more armored units coming across, intense fighting reported by the Israelis by both sides. In fact, it does look as though that is turning into a more significant operation.
Yes, it does. The Israelis have obviously decided that they're going to move into southern Lebanon in force, and we reckon that there's probably 10 or 12 brigades involved in this, and we know certainly of the 998th Airborne Division, a very famous airborne division, the 98th, maybe the 36th Armored Division, possibly the 146th Division. Elements of those three elements have been put together into 3 divisions, and it looks like a 3-division attack Although maybe with not quite the numbers that might imply, but we're looking at maybe 20-25,000 Israeli troops plus all of their equipment moving into southern Lebanon, and I think as John Sparks was reporting earlier on to you, a lot of engineering equipment, and that's always a sign when you see forces moving in with engineering equipment. It usually indicates that they intend to do either quite a big job or stay for quite some time. So I think that's where we are in Lebanon. I think the other thing, Mark, which is interesting, is that I think the Israelis are cashing in on their intelligence operation over the last 2 to 3 years. I mean, we know Israeli intelligence is very good, and they've been very intensively operating all across the region in the last 12 months since the October 7th attacks. So they can locate a lot of targets in Hezbollah, they can locate targets with the militias in Syria and Iraq, they can locate targets with the Houthis. They know what's going on in Iran, and I think in a sense the Israelis are now on a roll, or they feel they are, and they're going for broke. They are using all that they know of the intelligence of their opponents to go for quite a lot of them, if not all of them, more or less simultaneously.
Yeah, I mean, it's intelligence they didn't seem to have in the last such operation 2006 that seemed a very rushed well, it was a very rushed operation, much different to this one, Michael. But just finally a quick word on the operation last night to defend Israel. Deborah Haynes is saying that RAF Typhoon jets were involved. What would they have been doing, do you think?
Not very much, to be honest. I mean, I think that we at the time we weren't sure how many drones might have been involved. It looks, if this whole attack was ballistic missiles, that's still to be confirmed. But I mean, having aircraft in the air, having fighters with missiles on board their own missiles, they can only be used really against drones. There's not much a fighter can do against ballistic missiles incoming. So it may well be that RF Typhoons from Aquati they were used. We're told that by the British government, but I imagine that they were patrolling in the area of northern Israel on the lookout for drones, which don't seem to have been part of the attack. So in that respect, they were part of it. They would have been part of the general surveillance, and it would have released Israeli aircraft to be doing other things if the IFARF aircraft and American aircraft were out there looking for drones. But if this attack was entirely ballistic missile based, then I can be fairly confident that the fighters in the air wouldn't have had much to do that they could usefully contribute. Thanks for watching this video.